focusing only on brain metastasis in this talk because extracranial site is also a vast area, and we are going to discuss it in our next sometime when we get the opportunity. Now, if we talk about the brain metastasis, we have three different clinical situations. Either it is a solitary brain metastasis, or it is a multiple brain metastasis. And sometimes we get a limited brain metastasis. If you get a solitary brain metastasis, we have a randomized data to show that if you do whole brain RT followed by a boost or surgery, then there is a benefit in terms of, and this data has come long back, 1990s, we know that solitary brain metastasis, there is a role of radiosurgery and or surgery, which can improve the outcome. Now, if we talk about the multiple brain metastasis, where patients have multiple lesions like this, there are enough series to show that whole brain radiation 30 gray 10 fraction is the standard of care. And the median survival is 6 to 9 months, and the prognosis is really bad. Only problem is oligometastasis in the brain, means where the lesions are up to 3 or 5, where there is no standard of care till date. Now we have to see that whether we need to give for whole brain radiation or surgery or radiosurgery has any. Fortunately, in last 3-4 years, we have so many randomized data to confirm the role of radiosurgery and surgery as well in this oligometastatic disease. Now, if we see the conventional way of brain metastasis, 30 gray 10 fractions, and this depends on so many other factors, but 6 to 12 months, we prognosticate depending on the RPA classification. It is the age, performance status, and systemic control or not. If it is there, if it's RPA class 1, then the median survival is around 7 months. Whereas if it is RPA class 3, it is only 2 months. So if it is a bad disease, age more than 65, performance status less than 70, and systemic control is not there, then the role of radiation in brain metastasis is very limited because the outcome is very bad. Now, whole brain radiation was the standard of care for last 50, 60 years. Now, in recent years, when you have a good systemic therapy and the patients are living long, we are really getting a 10 to 15% of the patients are living more than 2 years. And the cognitive function is becoming a real issue. If you see these studies or prospective evaluation of cognitive function after whole brain radiation, you see at 12 months evaluation, 60 to 80% of the patients have definitive decline in the cognitive functions. Means if you treat with whole brain radiation and the patient is expected to live more than 2 years, then a large portion of patients have problems in terms of cognitive function, memory functions, cognitive assessments, evaluations, and doing a fine motor activity is a problem. If we expect the patient is going to live more than 2 years. Now, a very interesting study came called QUAD study, which is a randomized study in a poor prognosis brain metastasis patients, RPA class 3, where it has shown that if we treat with whole brain group and base supportive care with steroid in that group, there is no difference in terms of outcome. Overall survival is same. And if you see the cognitive function, there is not much difference in the quality of life as well. So if a patient with a very poor performance status, where the expected survival is less than 3 months, giving whole brain radiation or only supportive care, not much difference in terms of outcome. That gives a big question that whether whole brain radiation is important in brain metastasis or not, especially in poor performance status patients. In MD Anderson, there are 3 randomized data which has been planned in 2000, and in 2016 we got the updated results of 3 group of patients. One group is this 1 to 3 brain metastasis, which is the concern, oligometastasis, where one group got only radiosurgery and one group got radiosurgery plus whole brain RT, which is the standard of care as of now. Now the dose was, if it was less than 2 centimeter, it was 20 gray, 2 to 3 centimeter, 18 gray was considered as dose. And cognitive function assessment was done at 3 months and at subsequent follow-up. Now, when we see the cognitive function assessment scores, when radiosurgery alone and radiosurgery plus whole brain RT, there is a significant change in quality of life and cognitive function deterioration at 3 months and 6 months follow-up, those who got radiosurgery plus whole brain RT. But when we see the outcome, there is not much change in the outcome. So if you give only radiosurgery in a patient with oligometastasis, 1 to 3 metastasis, and do not give whole brain RT in a group of patients where the patient is expected to live more than 1 year, then we are preserving the cognitive function, quality of life, without impairing the survival functions. So this study has confirmed that in oligometastatic disease, whole brain RT may not be required and may need to be kept in case of progression. Radiosurgery should be the first line of management. It does not come on the overall edge. There is a cognitive function. That program has changed a lot of things. And now in oligometastatic disease, radiosurgery has become a standard of care, and we have a level 1 evidence for that. Now, there is another question come into the picture, that if we do a surgery in oligometastatic disease, and after surgery, do you need to give radiation? And if you give radiation, what kind of radiation need to be given? So the Paul Brown's, this another study, after resected brain metastasis, one group got whole brain radiation, which is the standard now, and another group got radiosurgery to the tumor cavity. And assessment was done on cognitive function at 3 months and subsequent follow-up. If you see the outcome, those group got whole brain RT and got radiosurgery only to the tumor cavity, there is no difference in terms of outcome. But in terms of cognitive function impairment, whole brain RT group actually has a definitive decline in cognitive function. So even after surgery, if we give radiosurgery to the tumor cavity with 0.5 to 1 centimeter margin, then we can have a definitive control, preserve the cognitive function, whereas we are not compromising on the survival function. So in that case also, the whole brain RT may not be required after this surgery. So that study is also a landmark study which has shown that even if we do surgery in oligometastatic disease, radiosurgery should be given, and whole brain RT may not be that useful and can have detrimental effect on cognitive function sparing. Now, many people ask that if your radiosurgery is giving in 1 centimeter cavity, preserving and having a similar kind of survival compared to the whole brain RT, and do we need to do any kind of radiation? So we can do one thing, that we may not give radiation at all after surgery. So Anita Mahajan, in the same year, 2016, from MD Anderson only, have a study to prove that after the surgery, one group got radiosurgery to the tumor cavity, one group didn't get anything. It was observation. And MRI was done and follow-up was done at 3-monthly interval. Now, those who got radiosurgery to the tumor cavity, they have a better local control. Whereas those patients didn't get any kind of radiation, definitive progression. So actually it is said that there is a 60 to 67% chance that there will be local failure if you are not giving radiation after the surgery in brain metastasis, oligobrain metastasis. So we cannot avoid radiation after this surgery also, but we can have a local focal form of treatment, not the whole brain radiation, and a tumor cavity with a margin of 5 millimeter to 1 centimeter, which is going to give a definitive local control response. Now, always we talk that in brain metastasis, 1 to 3 lesions, if it is more than 3 lesions, we should not do radiosurgery, whole brain radiation should be given. Now, it has also been changed in last few years. Now, people are saying that it is not the number of lesions, it is the volume of disease, which is important. And it has been seen in a very interesting paper that the outcome actually depends on the volume of the disease. If it's a single lesion with 5 centimeter site volume and another lesion, 1 centimeter lesion, the outcome may be better in 1 centimeter lesion compared to 1 5 centimeter lesion because the response to radiation may be different in larger tumors. So that actually has been changed. So now people are also thinking and doing a randomized study in 4 to 10 brain metastatic lesions, comparing whole brain radiation versus radiosurgery. The outcome data has not come, but initial data what has shown that there is a definitive benefit in terms of cognitive function even if we do a radiosurgery for more than 4 lesions, that the performance status is preserved. There's very interesting few studies which actually have shown that volume of metastasis is more important than the number of metastases. The volume has shown significance, but number of metastases has not shown significance in multivariate analysis. So slowly, it is the volume which is going to determine whether we are going to treat with radiosurgery or not, not the number of lesions. Another important, see, all brain metastases we look in same way. These are the brain metastases from breast, from lung, which actually has now targeted molecules for extracranial disease. Now we have seen that if you are treating a H2 antibody, luminal A, B, C has or non-luminal A, B. They also have a different prognosis when we do a radiosurgery for the brain metastasis from breast. So it is a molecular subtyping that also has an implications in terms of outcome. And our approach is also going to change depending on the molecular subtyping, mostly in lung cancer and breast cancer. So as of now, if it is multiple brain metastasis, poor performance status, get supportive care. If it is a good performance status in multiple brain metastasis, now multiple is more than 4 now, is whole brain radiation. In solitary brain metastasis, in non-eloquent area, good performance status, surgery or radiosurgery. And eloquent area, good performance status, radiosurgery. And poor performance status patients, either radiosurgery or whole brain radiations. In oligometastatic disease, if there is a mass effect present, then surgery followed by radiosurgery tumor boost. If there is no mass effect is there, there is no data to show that surgery is going to help in terms of overall survival. Only radiosurgery alone may be as good as surgery plus radiosurgery. If there is no mass and poor performance status patient, then whole brain radiation. So whole brain radiation is for good performance status, multiple or oligometastasis, and for solitary metastasis, good or with poor performance status. So basically, now the role of whole brain radiation is defined even in multiple brain metastasis, in oligometastasis, and solitary metastasis, and same for radiosurgery as well. So radiosurgery for oligometastasis, good performance status, and solitary metastasis, good performance status patients. Now, when we treat brain metastasis with radiosurgery, if it is deep-seated lesions, if there's less than 5, now less than 3, so the oligometastasis definitions are different. So 3 organs or more than 5, less than 5 lesions are considered as oligometastasis. But for brain, till now, 1 to 3 lesions actually are considered as oligometastasis. More than 3 are considered as multiple brain metastasis, which may need to be evaluated in a randomized setting, whether radiosurgery is important in that case or not. We do understand that brain metastasis is a poor prognosis disease. Whatever you do with radiosurgery, we are not improving the outcome. We are improving the cognitive function. So many times we see that many people ask that you are doing radiosurgery, you are not improving the outcome in terms of survival. We are not improving the outcome in terms of survival with radiosurgery compared to whole brain RT. But we are improving the quality of life. We are improving the cognitive functions. That is also equally important as overall survival, especially in stage 4 disease, where the radiosurgery plays a very important role, and that is now the standard of care in all Western populations. Now, Indian patients or Indian subcontinent patients need to be evaluated in a different way. Now, there is not too many centers who do radiosurgery, neither is some expertise. So it is not that all patients can blanketly have radiosurgery for brain metastasis. We have to have our prognostication that if a patient is expected to live more than 1 year, then we can plan. There is a nomogram, and this one is a very interesting and very simple form of nomogram. You see that radiosurgery dose, age, gender, these are all parameters which actually has and type of tumors. These are number of lesions, and we can have a scoring system. If it is scored is 20 more than 20, 21, then more than 20, then the expected new lesion-free, brain lesion-free survival is around 80% at 6 months and 70% at 12 months. So these group 3 patients are the best candidate for radiosurgery because we are not going to get a new lesions. If there's a radiosurgery due and there's a new lesion come and we are not able to treat it again with radiosurgery, then the first radiosurgery for the first instance is a failure. So usually we should select cases where the chance of having a new lesions in 1 year time is going to be very less, or if it comes back, we have an opportunity to treat it again with radiosurgery. Now, if you are not able to do that and have to go for whole brain radiation, then upfront only you should have gone for whole brain radiation. So the prognostication for brain metastasis is really important. We should always know that there is always a possibility of having new lesions. After 67% chance that patient who are living more than 1 year will have a new lesion. So that has to be told to the patient, and we need to be prepared to do a radiosurgery. After whole brain RT, also there is a good possibility, more than 51% chance that a new lesion is going to come in 1 year or 6 months' time. If you do a whole brain radiation, doing a re-radiation with radiosurgery or whole brain radiation is difficult. But if you do a radiosurgery and then the 67% chance that it is going to come back at 1 year time, then we are in a position to treat it again. Especially, most of the time the re-radiosurgery is done in other lobe, not in the same lobe. We also need to see the molecular status, the performance status, age. That is really important. We always need to see the MRI and need to see that there is no difference in outcome in terms of overall survival. Only the cognitive function there is a difference in terms of radiosurgery and whole brain radiations. So you need to do a CT scan or contrast CT is critical. You just need to do a neurological examinations to find out whether it is correlating. Otherwise, there will be new lesions which you have missed in the MRI that need to be seen. We have to see a T1 contrast, T2 flare always. They need to see a bleed. If there's a leptomeningeal involvement, then role of radiosurgery is less. So that need to be seen into account. Many times we miss a small lesion, which is in other lobe. So always need to scan the entire MRI sequences in T1 contrast and T2 flare as well to find out any new lesion is there or not, and have a plan in your mind before you start the treatment. So contour, we don't need to take T2 flare images. We need to contour what you're sure. Always deliver the highest possible dose and considering the constraints. We should always respect the constraints, and plan evaluation will do for the low dose as well, because we are considering the cognitive functions pairing. PTB margin is always required. Many centers treat radiosurgery without zero PTB margin. There is nothing called zero PTB margin. Even in CyberKnife, we give 2 millimeter margin, which is a fusion error between MRI and CT scan. And treatment delivery is critical. So approach is like a surgeon. not like a radiation oncologist. Now, contouring, we always need to see the fusions proper, because many times if the fusion is not proper and you have contoured on MRI and not seen in the CT scan, then there can be an error that need to be seen. GTB is contoured in the T1 contrast scan, and MRI scan is always need to be seen. No need to include the entire T2 volume, because T2 volume changes, T2 flare changes are mostly reactive changes. They are not disease in brain metastasis. So that not need to be taken into account. But there is sometimes it is not contrast enhancing, but you can see there is a gross disease which is seen. It is not T2 and T2 flare enhancing, but T2 area dark. That need to be taken into account. That may not take the contrast, but that is disease as well, and that will come with some expertise. PTB margin is need to be given, and wares need to be taken into account. See, now we always contour on MRI and we treat on CT scan. So in brain metastasis, as we are not giving a big margin, there is nothing called CTB margin in brain metastasis. So it is empirical that the contouring is proper, and we are treating in CT scan. So CT scan volume is the final one, not the MRI volume. So you have to improve this quality of CT scan. We cannot completely rely on MRI images. The MRI images are going to help us, PET scan images are going to help us, but the CT scan need to be taken proper. So to take CT scan proper, we need to take in proper phase, thin slices need to be taken. In brain, we always take a scan size, a thickness of 0.65 millimeter. If you do that, then we can actually see the lesions well. If you don't do that, then many times we don't see this lesion, we cannot see the edge appropriately because the slices are not that thin, 0.65 millimeter is not there. So if you contour and match it with sagittal and coronal sections, we may not get the right picture. Whereas if you see this one, which is taken an appropriate scan with thinner slice, we will be able to do. So contouring is going to be much easier and fusions are going to be easier. So we need to take a very thin slices of CT scan and MRI. Many times we need to do double contrast. Especially it is good for liver, but on brain also it is critical. That if you don't give good amount of contrast, we will not be able to see the lesion. We will miss it, and the recurrence will happen in most of the situations. There is some concern about the contrast, and those calculations that has shown is not going to be that critical. Another very interesting thing when you are doing a radiosurgery for brain metastasis, if you see this lesion, you see that it shows that there is some area which is taken, extra volume has been taken. But if you do a proper window leveling, you can see it is not like that. It is the appropriate scan taken. So proper windowing is also important for contouring, because as we are not giving a very high margin, so the contouring appropriate is critical. We need to do a proper fusion. Then the contribution of MRI in contouring actually improves, and the quality of treatment delivery is also improved. Now, many people, as I told, they don't give margin to the GTB. They zero margin, PTB to GTB to PTB, zero margin. But it has been seen that you need to give at least 2 millimeter margin to see the lesions. There is something called, some people will have an artifact because of some metallic objects. Sometimes the observer is there, and if you don't do a metallic artifact reduction, then there can be some artifact, and which will not allow to contour the lesions properly. So if you do have metal artifact reductions, then the lesions are better seen, and we can see the lesions, especially in cerebellar lesion. If there's a lesion and have a metallic implant in the cervical spine, then there will be a lot of infarct, a lot of artifacts which need to be taken into account, and also same for myelin. These are the standard OARs need to be contoured, whereas are controlled on MRI, but modified in the CT scan, because typically we treat on the CT scan, not on MRI. However, dose, there is not much consensus. There are so much of issues on the dose as well still date. Now, the interesting thing is, in the RTOG study, when the tumor volume was more, they gave less dose. But ideally, if the tumor volume is more, we should give more dose. But in that study, it was a single fraction. If you are giving a fractionated regimen, then we can actually increase the dose to the necrotizing dose, which is a Greek protocol. And most of the standard protocols are that if you are giving these are larger tumors, we need to treat less than 2.5 centimeter, 24 single, 2.5 to 3.5 centimeter, 27 in 3, more than 3.5, 30 in 5 fractions. This is prioritizing dose of glucose protocol that is now followed. And maybe the Paul Brown's dose is little underdose in a larger tumor sphere. So the recurrence rates are a little on the higher side. Now, if we see there sort of dose in the brain metastasis, the chance of having a cognitive function impairment or edema post radiation necrosis is also increases. So now there's a hypothesis that instead of single fraction, if you do a multiple fractions radiosurgery, then chance of having a dose radionecrosis is less. Whatever you do, you need to see that the chance of radionecrosis is 5 to 17%. Maybe few people will be steroid dependence that has to be tackled and has to be conveyed to the patients. There will need to be an MRI changes, which is persistent edema, and that has to be explained. Then if the cavity is large and you are giving radiosurgery, then there is an issue in it. I think this is a very interesting study which compared between the single fraction and multiple fractions radiosurgery for large brain metastasis, which have shown that actually there is not much difference in terms of control. But in terms of radionecrosis, if you're doing multiple fraction radiosurgery, then the chance of radionecrosis is less. So now it is a little large tumor, more than 3 centimeter, then multiple fraction radiosurgery is critical, where our linear-based radiosurgery or CyberKnife is playing a very important role. Gamma knife is not able to treat fractions. So in larger tumors, maybe or CyberKnife has an edge because of it reduces the radionecrosis. Now, you can see that if you 12 gray volume to the brain is very important to define that whether there will be radionecrosis or not. So when we plan a brain metastasis, we always look at 12 gray volume. If the 12 gray volume is less than 5%, chance of having radionecrosis is very less. And it will be less than 4%. So in our study also, we have done more than 100 patients now in a prospective setting. So we always try to keep 12 gray in single fraction, 12 gray brain volume less than 5% or less than 15 cc. And that is a predictor that chance of radionecrosis is going to be less. In multiple fractions, 18 gray is considered as standard, and 18 gray less than 5% is considered standard in reducing the radionecrosis. So it is not about the coverage or the way dose. Whole brain volume and whole brain dose also is important to define before you plan for radiosurgery. Now, many times we can see that post-op cavities we need to treat, and we always need to see the pre-op cavity, fuse it, and pre-op MRI you need to fuse with the post-op volume, match it, and then treat. But there is something that really interesting has come up in recent years, which is called pre-op radiosurgery before surgery. Now, what actually happens that if it's a large tumor and you want to go for surgery, then the cavity will be larger. And if you want to give radiosurgery for that, then chance of radionecrosis is high. So now people are saying that in a case like this, where there's a little higher volume, you give radiosurgery upfront, 18 gray single fractions or 27 gray 3 fractions. And another 2 weeks time down the line, when there's a shrink of mass, you do a surgery. Then the surgery is safer because the bleed is not going to be there. There will be shrink in size, so surgery will be easier, and you don't need to be post-op RT because post-op volume is going to be larger than the pre-op volume. So this is something new has come up as a pre-op radiosurgery in brain metastasis, and that has been now considered an option. And some kind of studies are going on, and prospective study to find out the rationality in pre-op versus post-op RT in brain metastasis as well. So this is a large tumor in cerebral region. We treated this patient's 22 grade single fraction, and we were able to do this treatment because brain stem dose is far off, and we can able to do less than 10 grade max dose to the brain stem. This is a small one, and we are able to treat 24 grade single fraction. And if you see, this 30% volume is so confined, so the rest of the brain is not getting that dose. This is possible with CyberKnife, which is not possible with any other. Though I do CyberKnife, I can say I'm a little biased, but at the same time, I have seen the other systems as well. The spill of 30 gray, 30 or 40 gray is much more in many of the ARC therapies compared to the radiosurgery, which is a pencil beam and of arrangements. So treating again with re-radiation, if this patient come with one more lesion in the frontal lobe or parietal lobe, it will be easily we can treat without any complications. And if we fuse both the plans, we see the dose of the whole brain, 12 gray dose is much less even in combined treatment plans. This is multiple brain metastasis lesions can be treated, and multiple lesions also can be treated. And usually we treat both the lesions. It is a whole brain plus boost in multiple lesions. 12 gray boost we have given after 30 gray. And here, all the lesions are treated together. So we contour GTB1, GTB2, and merge it and make it one volume and treat. And that is now the standard of treating multiple brain metastasis. This is a very interesting case. You see, this is a lesion. We treated with radiosurgery, and it has come at post-CK 3 months follow. And then there is one more lesion. You can see that it has a good shrink of tumor at 3 months follow. Now, if you see this lesion, now it is changing. This was the pre-op. This is post-treatment. There's a change in the pattern, and the necrosis is there. We can see there's a necrosis, and we cannot tell that it is necrosis or recurrence. But when you did a perfusion scan, we saw that it is necrosis only. So you can see now that there is a necrosis. We can see at 6 months follow. Now we can see at 1 year follow that there is a necrosis, which is confirmed that the patient is otherwise fine, and there's a darkening which confirms that it is necrosis. And that patient actually is recurred after 2 years' time. Now, if it recurs, how will you go again for radiations? Now, there is a lot of data to show that if you do initial radiosurgery, we can do second radiosurgery, third radiosurgery, fourth, fifth radiosurgery. So 5 or 6 times radiosurgery is possible if it happens in other part of the other lobe of the brain, or more than 6 months, it comes in the same region. And we can deliver a full dose of radiation with a significant improvement in local control. So re-radiosurgery is not a contraindication, and it is easily possible if it happens in other part of the world. Most of the time, 20% time only, there is a tumor bed recurrence. We can show our data as well. 80% time, the new lesions come in other lobe, which is not being treated. So the treatment for the new lesion, new area or new lobe is not at all a contraindication for re-radiations. Now, we have done a very interesting study. It is an ongoing study. Now we have 95 patients accrued in the study. We need 12 patients to complete the study. We are doing our own prognostication and patient selection criteria. Now, when we analyze these patients with 72 patients with 125 metastases, Dr. Shruti presented in our national conference and got the best paper award for this. And we have primary endpoint is overall survival, and we have seen the recurrence rate, new lesion-free survival, re-SRS rate. As I told, if you do surgery and a new lesion comes and you are not able to do reduce surgery again, then first time reduce surgery has no meaning. So if you are not able to do reduce surgery for all our patients when it comes back, then the purpose of doing reduce surgery upfront is not there. So that also we have analyzed. This is our demographic data of our first 72 patients. And if you see the dose, most of the patients got more than 20 gray. And normal vein volume we have kept in less than 30 cc in majority of the patients. And if you see the survival functions, and intracranial recurrence rate is around 20%. Infield is only 3%, means within the tumor, which we have treated. Out of field is 17%. And both infield and outfield recurrence is only 3%. So the patient who had the infield recurrence also had an outfield recurrence also. So that is a more aggressive disease. So majority of the patients had recurred out of field and field, and we are able to treat them again. So among the total 72 patients, 16 patients has recurred in the brain, and 56 patients have no recurrence at 6 months follow. Infield 2% and outfield is 16, and both are 3% of the patients. Now, among those patients who had a recurrence, SRS is done on 6 patients, whole vein artery because of the multiple lesions on 4 patients, and 2 patients underwent surgery. So basically, we are able to salvage after recurrence, and that was possible. So our radiosurgery we are able to salvage the recurrences. Also, the first time radiosurgery was justified. 4 patients had necrosis. Those 2 patients had surgery, and 2 patients had hyperbaric oxygen therapy. More than 7 patients out of 72 patients had required more than 2 weeks of steroid, and that all responded. And 2 patients required surgery for post-SRS necrosis. So, and we have done our own new brain-free survival for Indian patient populations. We have seen that our cohort and the published cohort, we have seen in the grade 3 tumor, which is a good type, and there's a good concordance. But in the bad type, concordance is not much. So if you see, the overall concordance is not there, but good type, there's a concordance. Means those patients who are good in the Western literature also are good in our patient population as well. Those patients who are bad in Western population are worse in our group. So our prognostication parameters has to be different from what is Western population. And once we complete, this is a numbers were less. When we complete the full study, we will have a very interesting, our Indian subcontinent brain survival prognosticating criteria, which is on the way, and hopefully in another 6 months we are going to get that publication in. So if you conclude it, there is a evolving standard of care for brain metastasis. Till 1990s, whole vein radiation was the standard of care. Study was focused on dosage schedule, 30 grade 10 fractions, and are equivalent to 14, 16, 20 grade 5 fractions also similar. So basically, people wanted to reduce the number of days of whole vein radiation, but no one was interested to reduce the volume of the treatment volume. And the median was 6 to 9 months. And there's a lot of nihilistic in brain metastasis. Brain metastasis, nothing can be done. That was the approach. In 1990s, this Patel study came and things changed. In limited brain metastasis, radiosurgery plus whole vein artery became a standard of care. And there is a definitive benefit of 2 months, but significant improvement in terms of survival. 30 grade 10 fractions plus 12 grade boost became standard in oligometastasis disease since 1990s. In 2012 onwards, things changed. The limited brain metastasis also radiosurgery, and there are so many studies has come up to show that in oligometastatic disease, radiosurgery is the standard of care, and in post-op setting also, the radiosurgery is the standard of care in the boost cavity, and you need to treat the bush cavity to prevent recurrences. So now there is something new has come up called new adjuvant radiosurgery for large tumors, where we need to give radiosurgery, and these are ongoing studies. Hippocampus sparing is becoming interesting in multiple brain metastasis. Immunotherapy along with radiosurgery is coming, and abscopal effect, and necrosis, radionecrosis, and targeted therapies along with that. So now, for radiosurgery, single dose of Avastin is given to reduce the radionecrosis. That is coming into the picture. So these are something new. And prognostication as per tumor type and site. Now, brain metastasis from lung, brain, RCC, from breast, RCC, all are treated in the same way. But slowly, there is a prognostication happening, like what has happened in lung, non-small cell lung cancers. Prognostication depending on the molecular markers are happening, and maybe in another few years, we will have our own prognostication criteria for brain metastasis as well. So this decision making, 80% of our patients are multiple brain metastasis, poor performance status, unfavorable histology, short DFI, and maybe observation is an option. Multiple brain metastasis, good performance status patients, or favorable histology, effective chemotherapy is there. We give whole brain radiation 13-10, and that is still considered in many of the Indian subcontinent patients. In some patients, 10 to 15% of the patients who come with oligometastasis with good performance status, they should be planned for radiosurgery, and they should be offered radiosurgery. Fewer patients, only 5% of the patients come with solitary brain metastasis with good performance status. Either surgery or radiosurgery should be the standard of care. If surgery is done post-op SRS in the cavity, is now the standard of care. Thank you.